special report now on the fact that we have a meeting between the Russian president and US President Donald Trump taking place. It's official. It has been truthed out by the president. It's going to take place next Friday in the state of Alaska in the United States. Let me just read what the president truthed out just a few moments ago. The highly anticipated meeting between myself as President of the United States of America and President Vladimir Putin of Russia will take place next Friday, August 15th, in the great state of Alaska. Further details to follow. Thank you for your attention to this matter. As I said, we were anticipating some kind of further details about this particular meeting. Markets had been anticipating this meeting, in fact, all day, as the president had been hinting at it and essentially saying that would happen next week. We're also perhaps anticipating something about secondary tariffs. There's been a hint that that might also be on the cards for Russia, although that said, with this meeting now firmly in place, that may be on the back foot for the US president. The hope is that the two will be able to come to some kind of a deal regarding Ukraine and the war that continues in Ukraine. On the part of Russia, it seems to want to keep on to the eastern territories, the territories of Donbass. We'll see what the US president can agree to with the Russian president, but that meeting is now set for next Friday. Again, as I said, markets today traded higher. The S&P 500, in fact, for the week was up 2.4%, and that was partially on the hopes of some geopolitical rest, if you like, at least when it comes to this particular matter between the US and Russia and Ukraine. Now, we know that Ukraine is also meeting this weekend with European partners, so there will be some additional steps to follow and additional negotiations going on, no doubt, and posturing as well on the part of Ukraine. Ukraine hasn't wanted to give up its eastern territories, and if that's a line in the sand when it comes to what Ukraine will have to offer Russia, then obviously there won't be any truce agreement. But the president has been saying this for many months, in fact, since before he got elected, in fact, that he wants to put an end to this and he wants to do it fast. And now we actually have a date and a place. In the state of Alaska, in fact, is where this meeting is going to take place. So Vladimir Putin is going to travel across the water to Alaska and will meet with the US president. Let's just have a listen to this soundbite.
I'll be meeting very shortly with President Putin. It would have been sooner, but I guess there's security arrangements that, unfortunately, people have to make. Otherwise, I'd do it much quicker. He would too. He'd like to meet as soon as possible. I agree with it. But we'll be announcing that very shortly.
So that was the president essentially saying what we now know to be official, and that is that in 1 week from today, just a few days away, the Russian president is going to travel to the state of Alaska in the United States and meet with US President Donald Trump to try to come to some kind of a brokered truce in terms of the war in Ukraine. Now, we know that earlier on Trump had been announcing his plans with meeting with the Azerbaijani and Armenian leaders. There was a summit going on today, and that's where you heard the president say that as much. Look, the war has been going on for years. All sides want a truce. The president has been talking about the amount of bodies that have died and are on the field and that continue to die every single day. And he was making it a pillar, in fact, of his candidacy that he was going to be the president that was bringing peace to the world and stopping wars. He's already taken credit for stopping some wars, but at least in the case of Russia's war on Ukraine, it does continue. Will it continue after next Friday? Will there be a truce or some kind of a negotiated, at least ceasefire that will be lasting? We shall see. We do know that Russia's plan is to hold on to the eastern territories, the territories of Donbass. Will the US agree to that? Will the US put that to Ukraine? Over the weekend, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky is going to meet with his European counterparts, and so no doubt Europe will have a say on this matter as well. So again, we'll see how markets trade next week in the run-up to this particular meeting, but just the thoughts that this meeting would be taking place finally did have markets trading with better sentiment today. Let's put it that way. We had the S&P 500 higher and higher for the week indeed, up 2.4%, in spite of some weaker economic data that had put a little bit of a downturn on things on Tuesday. We also had the Nasdaq 100 trading higher by 3.7% on the week. So a fantastic week for equities. So no doubt this will hold the market's attention all week next week. We have 7 days to wait until that meeting between the US president and President Vladimir Putin of Russia. It's going to take place in the state of Alaska. And we'll continue to monitor and see if the president truths out anything else related to Russia, sanctions, secondary sanctions, or anything that we've been keeping our eye on. But for now, we have a firm date, a firm commitment on the part of both leaders, the leader of Russia and the leader of the United States. They're meeting next week in Alaska.